Dear listeners, my name is Anthony Clark.
And I'm Melanie Clark.
And we are
The Amazing Clarks.
We're both award-winning certified life and love coaches and a husband and wife duo that have been coaching together as a team for 24 years and that have been passionately in love for 34. They call us the Amazing Clarks because we empower people to live amazing lives.
And we're here to get you from where you are to where you want to be in life and love. Love the Amazing Clarks is our personal love letter to all of you who love love.
That's right, and we love love.
Yes, we do.
So now that we got that out the way, let's jump into the show.
Yes.
Today we have another great episode for you guys on today's podcast. We're going to cover, once again, from our series, How to Stop Being an Irritating Person. This is from an ebook that we wrote. It's 20 traits that pushes people, irritating traits that pushes people away and how to fix them. Oh. So over the last couple of weeks, we covered 4 already. Today we're going to be on number 5.
Yep.
So today's irritating trait is being overly opinionated.
Ooh.
And if you guys want a copy of this ebook, make sure you get a copy at theamazingclarks.com. But before we jump into that main topic, because all of us are irritated in our own way, so that topic's going to be really relevant. But before we jump into that, it's time for Catching Up with the Clarks. So this is a segment where we let you guys know what's been going on with us over the last week. Yep. And so today, Melanie, you know, I want to share with them. Yeah. I want to share with the fact that we've been watching, what is that show? Love is Blind.
Oh, yeah, we have been watching Love is Blind.
And one of the things that we've done while we were watching it, we realized that how big of an impact that politics is playing when it comes to dating.
Yeah, a lot in this particular season.
Right. Yep. And this, we're not going to get into whether you're right or left or whatever. We're not getting to all that part of it. We just want to bring up the point of that it actually makes a difference. Mm-hmm. And while we were watching it, the people that were dating, they were like trying to figure out like what is the other person. They wanted to know the other person's perspective and where they stand politically. And I always felt like it would be relevant in this day and age, especially. Yeah. But to actually see it on TV in multiple situations, it is a factor in today's world of dating.
Yeah. Well, you know, right now, politics are so polarizing that it makes sense that it's relevant in love and dating because people are choosing a life partner, somebody they're going to spend their life with. And a lot of the politics right now are about personal values. Yeah. And people really have to be in alignment with personal values to be able to spend their lives together, or else they're going to be arguing all of the time.
All the time.
So it's just fascinating how much the world has changed. I mean, there was a time, right, where people, you know, politics wasn't about personal values. It was just a little bit about your belief system, but not your core values. And it's really, really moved towards a lot of things being in politics about core values. And that's affecting dating life and marriage and all that stuff. So it's fascinating to watch.
And it's actually, on one hand, you know, it's kind of a part of it that's kind of sad. Like, oh, that's too bad because people have enough challenges already when it comes to dating and relationships. Yeah. But now we just added this whole new aspect to it in the world. But it is what it is. You have to deal with it realistically. Yeah. And not only is it, you have to be compatible in that way. You don't have to be. Don't get me wrong, people. You can overcome this.
Yeah, definitely.
It doesn't have to be a factor. And there are ways to, you know, grow past it. But for most people, they don't have the time, energy, or patience or understanding to get past it. Right. So it is the real thing. So you are where you are. Yeah. And that's okay. So it's not only the partner, but it's also their family, their community. Yeah. Because once you blend them, that makes it even more challenging.
Yeah, Thanksgiving can get real rough if you have really opposing views and opinions when it comes to politics. So, yeah, very fascinating how that's affecting relationships now.
And once again, I've heard people say like, you know what, it shouldn't matter. Politics doesn't matter when you come to. Actually, that sounds good on paper, but in the real world, it does make a difference for most people. Yeah. And when you're dating, it's the beginning. You have a clean slate. So you can kind of choose all your options. It's wide open. Right. So everybody wants the options that are going to be most compatible with their desires and goals in life. Right. The part that's harder is for couples that are already in relationships, that you're married, you're invested. Right. And then you find out that, you know, all of a sudden you and your partner are on opposing views when it comes to politics, and it bleeds over into the relationship, into the family lives. Now families are breaking apart. Yep. And once again, people go, you know, that shouldn't make a difference. You can get over it. Yes, you can. Anything is possible if you're willing to put the time, work, and effort into it.
Yeah.
But once again, for most people, they don't have that luxury, that time, willingness, or energy to invest, or the understanding. So it's hard to get through to most people. So it was just really, really eye-opening.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree.
I'm grateful that me and you are on the same page when it comes to
me too.
our beliefs.
I don't think we'd be able to have as happy of a marriage and enjoying each other as much as we do if we were having, opposite opinions about politics. So,
right. And even with religion, me and you, we're kind of still similar on that. We have some views that alter here and there.
Yeah.
But it's not a big factor. It's like, all right, cool. Well, you got a different twist here. I have a different twist here. Overall, we on the same page. Mm-hmm. So,
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of what's making politics so polarizing right now is there is a mix of religion and politics and spirituality and politics right now. Mm. And I think there's more in it than people realized, right? Mm. So that's where the core values come in, right? So a lot of times it's attached to people's religion. So they tend to lean towards the politics that align with their religion. So it's hard to let go of those opinions because it's ingrained, right? Like a religion is something that's part of people's programming. That's not good or bad, but it is part of programming because it's something that they learn from childhood. So they're going to grow up and then that programming, they have to have other people who are in alignment with that programming or else it's going to be really difficult for them to create a life together. So
I agree. I agree.
The world is rapidly changing. It's very interesting.
And it's the law of attraction. Like attracts like, so you have someone that has a certain view, they're on one side of the political spectrum. They're going to tend to attract and gravitate towards people that match that. And if they attract someone that's the opposite, there's going to cause conflict because there's conflicting frequencies. Yeah. And so there's a realignment going on in the world, but I ultimately believe that when all is said and done, everything that's unfolding is unfolding for all of our greater goods. Yeah, there's a,
spiritually, we're very much in a duality state right now, right? It's really black and white for people. There's not a lot of gray areas. And when there's not a lot of gray areas, it's hard for people to come together and they become extremely opinionated.
Which it can be irritating. Yes. Melanie Clark, you went in my head with that segue. Good job, Lovey. Good job.
No problem. I know how we roll, baby. I know how we roll.
That's right.
I got you.
Right. So once again, guys, thank you for hanging out with us. We're catching up with the Clarks. So now let's jump into the main topic. Once again, this is from our ebook, How to Stop Being an Irritating Person, 20 Irritating Traits That Pushes People Away and How to Fix Them. And so it's kind of, once again, it's relevant to what we kind of talked about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So today's irritating trait that we're going to discuss is being overly opinionated. And this is trait number 5. When we came up with this book, we looked at over the last 24 years of coaching and in our personal lives as well, what traits are irritating couples and individuals as a whole and in relationships. Because a lot of times we have irritating traits that prevent us what we want, from getting what we want when it comes to dating and relationships and our relationships in general. And when you're the person with the irritating trait that you're being irritating, you're usually the last person that knows it. And so you're pushing people away. You're pushing opportunities away. And so we wrote this book so that people can go through the traits and go, maybe I'm doing that. Maybe I'm doing this. Yeah. It's not to judge you, make you think you're a bad person. It's just to help you to see something that maybe you weren't seeing before. And once you see it, you can make peace with it, and then you can fix it and attract more of what you want from your relationships, more connection, more friendships, more love, or whatever it is that you want.
Well, I just want to add to that, Anthony. As coaches, a lot of the work that we do is helping people to really learn about themselves, right? Because that's where your power is. Your power is within yourself. When you are able to understand yourself and see yourself and become the person that you want to be, then that's personal power. So self-assessment, self-work is really where your power is at. So it's not about judgment. It's about where do you want to improve yourself so that you can have a better life in the external world. So to me, that's what it's about.
Yeah. And we could go into deep concepts like we have done before, but we wanted to just go to the surface instead of making people go too deep and work too hard.
Oh, I'm still going deep.
Let's give them the easy
I'm going
stuff.
deep. I'm going to hit the surface and then I'm going to go deep. How about that?
Start off with the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, there you go.
So being overly opinionated. So basically, that's when you have an opinion about everything, you or somebody else. Whenever you talk about, that person wants to jump in and give you their opinion and tell you maybe that you're wrong, or expand on it, tell you, or take it in a different direction. But it's nonstop, an opinion about everything. And eventually that can push people away. That can become very, very irritating. And as I go through these traits, I look at myself. And there are some traits that I had in the past that I've worked on. And there's some that are still I'm still working on that one as well.
Right.
And being overly opinionated was one that I had to work on in the past. And it was because I have a lot of information. I'm a fact gatherer.
Yes, you do.
And about all different types of subjects.
Yeah.
And even when I would talk about things, it wasn't always from the perspective, well, most of the time they would be like, you're wrong, I'm right.
Right.
It was just like, oh, I know a little bit about that. Let me expand. Hey, I know a little, did you know? Hey, well, you know what? Really, here's a different perspective. And one or two of those here and there, cool. But after a while, people's eyes start rolling back of the head. The room gets quiet. The crickets start chirping.
People run screaming.
People shut down. They leave the room and you walk in. And it's like something's going on.
I love it.
And so that was one of the things once I became aware of it.
Right.
Because I experienced somebody else doing it. And the person was just irritating the crap out of me and everything I would bring up and talk about.
Right.
Hey, no, this is the right way. Well, actually, you're wrong because it was like,
you attracted yourself and then you saw it.
It was like, am I doing that? Well, if that's the case, I'm going to stop it right now. I see the light.
But that's the great thing about, personal assessment. Like if you see it in the outer world, then you can take a look at yourself and say, do I want to be that? Right. And I think the thing about being overly opinionated is it can come off as a lack of compassion, a lack of empathy. Like you don't care what anybody else thinks. You have decided what it is. Everybody else needs to sit down and shut up and let you be right. And that just doesn't feel good to people, right? And
it's dismissive. It makes people feel dismissive, if that's not your intention.
Yeah. And, we have something that we say, this is just like a little joke in our family. Like sometimes you just need to drink a tall glass and shut the hell up.
Actually, that's why I started using that. Well, I've learned to just drink a tall glass and shut the hell up.
Right? Like it's okay.
Yeah. And it takes practice. At first, when you first realize you're doing it, then you're like, okay, I'm going to stop doing that.
Yeah.
Then people are talking, you're like, you got to catch yourself. Hit the brakes. And then over and over and over again. So I would just tell myself, you drink a tall glass and shut the hell up.
Yeah.
So I would just visualize me drinking a glass of liquid, shut the hell up, and give that person the time to talk. And then I felt after a while like I didn't have the need to jump in and say anything. And I had to ask myself, why was I doing that in the first place? Because I was trying to share with people to help make them smarter. But Anthony, did anybody ask you to make them smarter? Were you getting paid in this situation to make them smarter? No, I wasn't. Then shut up. Drink a tall glass. Let's shut the hell up.
One of the things, Anthony, with that, like I feel like I can be overly opinionated when it comes to coaching people, like when it comes to just, things about energy, because I think a lot of times it's when you're passionate about something.
Right.
You really want to share that. And one of the things that I've learned to do is ask people permission. Like when they're sharing with me, because I could definitely have an opinion about everything. Like I'm really good at listening to people.
You are.
And then I'm listening and then it just kind of drops in my mind like, here, I could coach you and I could help you with this. But then I have to realize like that can feel like, I'm judging them or I'm criticizing them or I'm putting them down because I have an opinion of what they could do, right? So one of the things that I've learned to do is first of all, read the room, look at people's facial expressions, body language, make sure they're with me and ask permission. Like, it's so simple. Like, would it be okay if I shared this with you? Are you interested in this? And even if they say yeah, and their body language is saying no, I'll share maybe a teeny bit and then back away.
Right.
And drink drink my tall glass of shut the hell up. Because you can tell when people really don't want to hear it.
Has anybody ever, when you brought that up and like, hey, do I have your permission? Is it okay? Has anyone ever said no?
Yeah. Actually, yeah. In my work, like I'm not trying to judge anybody, but I've had a few team members that when I've been consulting, and generally it's been men that are like, yeah, I don't really want to talk about that.
Okay.
Or I don't really care about that.
Okay.
And so I'm like, okay, well, if you decide that you want to have some more conversation about it, just let me know.
All right.
Yeah.
It didn't hurt your feelings at all. Honestly, be real.
Oh, everything hurts my feelings, Anthony. What are you talking about?
Way to be vulnerable. Way to be vulnerable. I like that.
Things will hurt my feelings initially.
Right.
And I can't help that. Like anytime I think that's pretty common being a human. When someone says no to you or opposes you, at first your reaction is going to be like, oh, that kind of hurts my feelings. But I'm pretty good at talking myself down. Like, Melanie, don't take it personally. And they have every right to say they don't like that. And I do a lot of self-talk. I'm really good at talking to myself out of my reactions. So good.
In all actuality, I've only had like one person in my life ever say no to me like that.
Really? Who was it? Me?
You.
I knew it.
Yeah, and actually you helped me because you got me used to it because you'll do it. So like,
I'm back. No, I don't want to.
I don't want to talk about that. No, I don't want to hear about. No, I don't want to care about sharing with that. And the first thing she'd be like, ugh. But after a while, it's like, all right, cool. Thank you for not letting me waste breath because you only get a certain amount of breaths per lifetime, and I don't want to waste these breaths for things that are meaningless. So thank you for that.
Well, can I tell you something about when you're overly opinionated? Maybe you don't know. Maybe you do know. See, I'm asking your permission. This is my opinion. Can I tell you?
Nope. Nope.
Come on, babe.
Nah, go ahead, of course.
Sometimes when you're overly opinionated, you repeat yourself.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And so you say the same thing over and over again, but in multiple ways. And that's when it becomes annoying. And that's when I'll be like, yeah, I don't want, no, I don't want to hear it because I already heard it. I already heard it a bunch of times and I don't want to hear it again.
You know, one of the things in a book that I love about it is that it's not just bringing up the points. It's also showing you like why people do it psychologically, why people do have these traits.
Yes.
And
do share.
As well as how to fix them.
Okay.
And I'm going to just give a couple. And if you guys, when you get the ebook, then you'll go through it. You'll see how to deal with it, why you do it, how to affect others, how to overcome it. And it'll even give you some exercises that you can do daily to help change these traits. Because once again, you can't do better till you know better.
Right.
Well, one of the reasons that people do it, I'll give two. One is programming. They grew up in an environment where other people were like that.
Yeah.
And I had to look back at it and I realized that I grew up in an environment like that. Where I had uncles and siblings and parents and everybody was constantly like giving their opinions.
Yeah.
It's called being a New Yorker.
Yeah.
and that's what we do. People, trust me, and people in New York are not shy about sharing their opinions.
Yeah.
So to me, that environment was normal.
Yeah.
And so I didn't think about it as, something was off with it. Another reason that people do it is for insecurity. Because they have a fear that people don't think that they know as much as they do, or people think that they're not smart, or people think so they got to keep jumping in there to try to prove that they are.
Yeah.
But they don't catch it because they're overcompensating.
Yeah.
I'll give one more. Another one is, you see, there's insecurity. There's programming. And the other one is to fear of not being heard.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Or being ignored.
That makes sense.
Yeah. That's why people repeat things over and over again, too.
Yeah, because they
feel like you're not really hearing what I'm saying.
Because you didn't agree.
You don't agree, or you don't. But when you give it back, you don't give it back quite the way they feel that they're trying to express it. Yeah. So in some cases it is people just don't agree. They're not agreeing.
I think one of the things that for me personally, when I come across people who are overly opinionated, I try to just stay open and curious, right? Like, why are they like that? Like, I love analyzing people. So when I notice people are a certain way, and I think that's why this ebook is good, is because people can understand. So it doesn't really annoy me until I have to say like, all right, stop. But I'm not upset at people when they're overly opinionated, because I generally try to understand why they're like that. And it's generally what you said, programming, right?
Yeah.
So I usually am like, that's just their programming. They don't mean anything by it.
And being overly opinionated, that goes into Karening territory
yes, too. Yes. Yeah.
Karening.
Yeah.
Yeah, being a Karen.
Oh, you know.
Yeah. You know what, though?
I have to catch myself with some of that. I do. You are. It's okay. It's okay. You can put me on blast. You do it on the podcast all the time. It's all right.
Get back to me too.
That's what we do. That's what we do. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would say the Karening, but Anthony, I have told you this, I catch the Karening in my head most of the time. Like for me, it's the wanting to insert myself in conversations, having a comment that has nothing to do with me. Like I really try to catch myself where, people be standing around talking and I'll be like, back up, Melanie, that has nothing to do with you. Stay out of it. Is there any other Karening that I do that I'm not catching? You can tell me, it's okay.
No, just pretty much that.
Yeah, inserting myself.
Or inserting why people are doing what they're doing.
Yeah, that's true.
There's
the analyzing.
Creating another whole story about it. It's like,
yeah.
This is why they're doing that, because of it. It's like, okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's generally me trying to figure out people's programming, because I'm kind of passionate about that, and opinionated, obviously.
Right.
So something to work on.
Yeah, you see that, people? See how that worked? We were honest. We looked at ourselves. We were vulnerable. And we admit it, like, yeah, I do that. Yeah. And it doesn't feel always great. But after a while, it actually does feel good. Because you're actually realizing that you're getting better. The more you admit it, the more you can change it. And it's like, no big deal. We're human. We all try our best. And it is what it is.
Honestly, Anthony, I think it's part of self-love and self-acceptance. You know what I mean? Like, I've learned to love and accept myself, even the parts that I want to change and that I want to work on. I could see them and not have to run from them or avoid them, because they're part of who I am. And I have the personal power to change them, work on them over my lifetime. And I've changed a lot over my lifetime. So I think it's important to be able to look at yourself.
Yeah, and it's being an example to others as well.
Yeah,
I take pride in that.
Yeah.
And writing this book, one of the reasons why it was so meaningful to me was because there are people in my life that I want better relationships with. Yeah. But I can't have these conversations with them because, for one, they did not give me permission. Yeah. They're not asking me to. Yeah. They're not open to it. So it's like, maybe they'll read this ebook. Yeah. And they'll see it on their own. Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. One of my motivations is I really value being a great mom. And I want to be a good example as a mom. And so I want to work on myself and be role model that for my children, even though they're adults. Right. I still want to show them that I'm always a work in progress. And because I want them to understand that they're always a work in progress, and to be gentle with themselves and love themselves as they're growing and changing throughout their lifetime. So if you want to have an impact and you want to inspire, you have to do the work yourself and be honest about where you're at and who you are. And so that's what motivates me to be able to do it. So you have to be motivated to be able to look at yourself and be honest about what you need to change about yourself, and really accept the fact that you're not perfect. None of us are. And that's okay.
That's okay. Real quick, I want to give you guys one tip that you can do now, because the book will give you a lot of tips to help you get over it. But here's one takeaway, guys, that you can have that can help you work on being overly opinionated. One tip is to listen more and ask questions. Because if you're listening and asking questions, that means you're not talking. And if you're taking the time to listen, you're breaking that pattern of just jumping in, because you might not realize it's just so compulsive, it's instinctive that you're just jumping in and sharing. But if you make it a point to go, let me listen, and then ask questions. And then if you still choose to share after that, great. But start with that, and that'll start to slow up the process and help you to be more aware of when you do it.
So that was great information, Anthony.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Once again, guys, make sure you get a copy of the ebook, How to Stop Being an Irritating Person, 20 Irritating Traits That Pushes People Away and How to Fix Them. You can get it at theamazingclarks.com. Great episode, baby.
Yeah, so I want to thank you guys for hanging out with us. We love and appreciate all of you guys. Make sure you're connecting with us over TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at The Amazing Clarks.
That's right, guys. And if you haven't got a chance to get a copy of our book, Crack the Code, Secrets to Achieving Your Happily Ever After, make sure you pick up a copy today, available at Amazon.com. And if you're interested in becoming a life coach or just want to learn some skills to life coach yourself or the people around you, check out our life coach certification course at Law of Attraction LifeCoachAcademy.com. And last but not least, if you guys are interested in coaching with the Amazing Clarks, then go to theamazingclarks.com, contact us, and we can coach via Zoom, via phone, or even in person if you're in the Charlotte, North Carolina area.
And remember, to go there, you got to grow there.
So now that we gave it to you, what you going to do with it?
Love the Amazing Clarks.